Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy Roliver Queen. Welcome to the Comics Code Authority podcast. We are back. And as always, I'm joined by my lovely, scrumptious, delicious, handsome, and flavorful homeboys. Fellas, please introduce yourselves because we got a lot to talk about today.
As always, I'm AJ. It's good to be here.
And I'm Elvis. Can't wait to get into stuff.
Yeah, guys. So, fuck what we read. Fuck what's going on this week. I'm sure you guys are good. Listen, let's talk about the slate. So, it was Tuesday where we finally got revealed what James Gunn's plans for DC Studios was going to be, and yeah, streets was shook. Everybody had their opinions, and yeah, there's a lot to look forward to, or for some people, not a lot to look forward to. So let's just do initial thoughts, and then we'll do the whole breakdown. So Elvis, since you came in here hot, go ahead, brother. Initial thoughts. Initial.
Initial thoughts, guys. It's got to be a two-parter, unfortunately, because my initial thoughts, like when I first heard it, was like, you know what, a lot of bold swings, some interesting things, like, oh, hey, that's neat. And then now, right now, as the days go by, I'm like, this is the most ridiculous idea. Not because of the comics that are the movies that are being, considered, but rather that this is how they're setting it up, and I find it just so ridiculous on so many different levels. But we'll save that for when we get deeper into it.
Okay. AJ?
Uh, for the most part, I'm cool with it. It's a couple of, I mean, with Gunn heading up uh, DC Studios, there are going to be a couple of just out there properties. So that's not a terrible surprise to me. Will full transparency. I had no idea. I think I'd heard of Creature Commandos. I think I'd heard about them one time before and had never really paid any other attention to that property. The Authority, that's kind of the one I'm going like, huh? Because if we're led to believe that the people at Warner Brothers, had a problem with the direction of DC before, that's kind of in the same, not same, but similar neighborhood. So I know um, the people in charge of the company have changed, but if I don't know, that seems like something that would have fit in with the old DC. So I was surprised to see that. Um, some of the other stuff, with them, I've been kind of feeling that they're gonna keep Ezra Miller around, and we'll get into all that later. But it's pointing towards that. For the most part, I'm cool with it. Couple of things I'm not really feeling, but I guess when we do our deeper dive into it, I'll go into more detail. But that's where I am right now.
Okay. All right. All right. So one nay, another yay. Okay. I'm the tiebreaker. Okay. I'm also, I don't even want to say I'm cool with it, and I don't even want to say I'm against it. I see it when I believe it when I see it. I believe it when I see it. I feel like we've been down this road before where, DC comes out, they says they have a plan, they put a slate together or something that looks like a slate in front of us, and then they say, hey, this is what the plan is moving forward. And we've seen it countless times where that just doesn't happen. Things change, leadership changes, and then that affects the whole line. There's a bunch of behind the scenes stuff, and it almost never it almost never comes true. Case in point, we just had the same thing happen with The Rock and Black Adam, and we all seen how much that fell apart. We all saw the whole Zack Snyder thing. So when I first seen this, I was just like, okay, cool. It Again, it sounds like a plan, and it's cool that there's some separation between the stuff that was already existing and the new stuff that's coming out. So that's awesome. But again, I think everybody's kind of jumping the gun here to touting it as like the best thing. Finally DC has a plan, and maybe this will be the saving grace. Um, yeah, I'll see when I believe it. It looks cool. Um, okay with a lot of the things that were announced, but again, like I have to see one or two of these movies, and I got to see how the plan is working within those movies for me to decide if I want to jump on board or not. 100%. So let's break down what we know. Let's break down what we know. So this is the part we're just gonna break it all down. So I pulled this up from the Hollywood Reporter, just because again, just breaks down everything. So we'll go through, chapter one. First off, Space Commandos. Is going to be a 7-episode animated series. It's written by Gunn.
Creature.
Creature Commandos.
Yes, it's right there on the screen. Let's look at
Wait, what did I say?
Space.
Oh, my bad. See, the alcohol already hitting. Yeah, Creature Commandos. So it's gonna be a 7-episode animated series written by Gunn. Um, I'm on the same boat as AJ. I have little to no knowledge about who these folk are. So this is definitely an interesting choice. I mean, also too, we got to add this in. Even before James Gunn started announcing what the slate was, he said that everything's going to be interconnected. So we're talking animated, we're talking video games, we're talking movies. He said that people who are doing the movies will be doing the voice acting for video games and so on and so forth. So he wants to make sure this is as tight knit as possible, and he doesn't want an actor or actress playing more than one role, because again we've ran into this situation before. So again, back to Creature Commandos. So that's first up. Next off is Waller. So that's a spin-off of Peacemaker. Viola Davis will return, and this is going to take place in between, I believe it was seasons 1 and 2 of Peacemaker, if I read that correctly. Superman Legacy. So this is the new James Gunn Superman movie that he has spoke about before. As we all know, Henry Cavill will not be a part of this, unfortunately. And we all heard about how that debacle went down. And this is slated to hit in what?
Can we let's just cut to the chase. I know
What's up?
it's been like a week or so, and I think
Mhm.
people have already kind of known exactly what movies are going on. So I think we should just cut to the chase. And I want to start with what you said about how Gunn's planning to sort of have everything connected, all actors playing the same roles, in different mediums. You want to have
Yeah.
games connected to the universe. You want to have shows connected to the universe. You want cartoons connected to the universe.
Let's go for it.
All,
Let's go
all,
for it.
all that stuff, right? I think that's
Let's
the
go.
stupidest idea I've ever heard. I think it is,
Go.
and not for, and people have been saying different ideas for why I think it's stupid. One, because actors sometimes they're not that great at voice acting, and vice versa. But I think it's really ridiculous, is because, well, and Gunn has said this before, like you would have like basically anyone who wanted to like make a show or movie get kind of the access to do so, and he doesn't want that. He wants everything to be connected. He wants like one orderly house, and like I think that's really restricting DC a lot, because without that kind of like verisimilitude, you don't have stuff like Swamp Thing, you don't have stuff like Stargirl, you don't have stuff like Superman and Lois, you don't have like even like Flash, Arrow. If everything has to be like orderly inside one thing, where every show and movie and game and cartoon has to connect, you're really kind of, I think, depriving audiences of voices of creators who maybe have a really fun take on a particular IP. Like, if we need to have a Batman cartoon that has to tie into the movies, and you want that just to be the only Batman cartoon and the only Batman TV show and the only Batman movie, like, then they all have to, intertwine, then you're not
Mhm.
going to get like a really kind of fun, awkward Batman TV show or anything like that. Like, and I feel like this is not the climate that would have allowed things like Gotham or The Flash or Arrow to happen.
Hmm. Mm.
I
Uh,
agree with those things aren't gonna be. This setup is not going to be conducive to those things happening.
Yeah, and
Um,
Gunn has said like the bar for like getting to be your own thing is gonna be higher, And I feel like that's
Yeah.
that's kind of ridiculous because I think you need that freedom to be kind of goofy and wacky, and like maybe sometimes an offshoot TV show doesn't need to be like that interesting, or maybe that kind of like that much of like a sure thing, because it allows the creators a more a little more leeway. Like Pennyworth, I think Pennyworth was a really fantastic show. Got canceled, and I'm wondering if maybe a lot of these cancellations are because they don't they don't fit into this grander scheme. Like they only want like one straight sort of alley that DC propagates.
I think that's part of it. I think um, their profits and losses are going to be another major part of it. But first off, I don't think it's going to be that super strict. It'll be strict, but not super strict. Gunn's already started walking back the video game comments a little bit on his Twitter, and we know that DC is already selling stuff to other
Mm,
networks. Like Amazon is supposed to be doing a bunch of animated shows for them, and what is it? The J.J. Abrams Batman show. They've shopped that somewhere else. I think somebody's picked it up already. I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to look
I
that
think
up.
Amazon, right?
Amazon did.
I
Okay, so
I know
that makes
Amazon's picked up
sense.
a couple of HBO things.
Yeah, that would make sense if it's going there, because like I said, they already did the animated deal with them for other properties, so they're not going to be able to be super strict about what ties into the universe or not. I'm sure they can give their input and preferences, but at the end of the day, that's if another company has bought the rights for distribution and stuff, they can get a bit of leeway there. Um, yeah, the video game part really bothered me because I don't want to go back to the era of where we just have a bunch of shitty movie tie-in games and
yeah, I forgot
yeah, like
about
that.
that.
I remember those days. Like I'm having
Yeah,
flashbacks to what was that? The Revenge of the Sith movie game. Oh my god, that was a horrible time. So
exactly. The thing is that for that kind of thing to work, you would have to have everything planned years in advance,
yeah.
given these studios, like I mean, video game studios, like so much more resources to get this stuff done on a time scale. Like imagine if you need to like play, I don't know, a Peacemaker game before season 3 came out, or a Blue Beetle game before
Hmm.
Seal came out. Like you need to have that done on time.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
the
no,
problem,
absolutely.
and I was gonna
No, go
say
ahead,
this,
bro.
the problem that you run into is that games don't typically come out when they say they come out. Like 9 out of
Yeah.
10 times, you're gonna get hit with a delay. What that delay can range between a couple months to maybe 2 or 3 years. So I think that one of all is the biggest red flag for me. Because again, it's like we all know everything that's happening with the gaming industry right now. But yeah, and then on top of that too, you're kind of forcing people to work on a time crunch just so they could make a deadline for a movie or a TV show just so it could all tie in. But at the same time, too, it's just like how loosely or how closely is it going to be tying in? Is it going to just be like a one? Is it just going to be like something you could ignore, or do you absolutely have to play this game? That's the other question as well.
Yeah, that's some of the stuff Gunn seems to be walking back a bit. He's saying like games aren't they're not going to be required for folks to play them and know what's going on. I wonder if the connection part is just about the voice actors. I hope that's all it is. Like
Yeah,
cast will the live action cast will be also doing the voice acting. If it's just that, I'm like, okay, fine, I can deal with that.
yeah,
But if you're like making stories dependent upon the gaming stories dependent upon what's happening in the films and the shows, I think you're going to run into a lot of major issues really quick. Like you said, delays,
hmm,
then having to know plot lines years in advance. I'm kind of wondering, is that why we haven't heard anything about the Wonder Woman game?
oh
It's been
yeah,
probably it's been over a year. I think we're coming up on like 15 months or so, and we haven't heard anything. You know, Game Awards just passed. Seemed like that would have been a great place to showcase your game because they'd already been working on that for a few years now,
Mm-hmm.
and they showed the initial teaser trailer. I want to say 2022, no, 2021, might have even been 2020 or late 2020, early 2021, and then we haven't seen anything of it since. I know it's still being worked on, but I'm just wondering, are they now trying to rearrange that for whatever Diana's going to have going on in this new DCU? Um, we'll see. Time will tell. That's the biggest part I'm worried about. The
Yeah.
other thing that I don't know if we want to get into that yet, but apparently, you know, some actors maybe staying around and stuff. And do we think that's a good idea
Let's talk
or
about
not?
that
Yeah,
because
like I said, I think they are already opening the door for Ezra
yeah,
to stick
Yeah. I
around, and
think,
I am
well,
shocked.
to bookend the video game thing, I
Hmm.
am for it if it's like let's just say I'm gonna throw a random crisis out there. Let's just say okay, Infinite Crisis. If it's a video game that's just kind of like a fun little tie-in that tied into that, but it's not really too consequential for you to like be immersed into the overall story. I'm fine with that because I think at the end of the day, people just want a fun, compelling video game, and it's a treat if it ties into this overall universe. Like if it's something that it's not required for me, I'll do it. If I want to decide to do it, I'll do it. If not, that's fine. That's the only reason I'll get immersed into this. That's the only way I'll be okay with that part of it. But if it's like required, and then you may have this situation where you run into these issues, okay, then that's where I have an issue. So that's my bookend for that.
okay, but now just go off what AJ's saying, like people sticking around.
Mhm.
Um, that's my other big issue, because like we were even saying, like we saw Creature Commandos, right? And we saw that concept
Mhm.
art. It has Weasel from Suicide Squad. Then we have Waller, which is a spinoff of Peacemaker, which is getting season 2 still, and that's gonna be all connected. And I'm wondering, like, especially Authority. Let's do with this Authority. So you have both James Gunn continuing his own stuff, which we all kind of guess what happened because
Mhm.
everyone in Hollywood likes to suck their own dick. But
Elvis, please.
I'm just so pissed off. I'm just so pissed off.
Okay.
Um, but also you have something like the Authority. You have stuff like um, Batman the Brave and the Bold, right? Like when
Mhm.
Batman has like Damian, and so he's been Batman for at least like 15 years minimum or around there. Um, and you have like younger Superman, and like I'm just wondering, why even do a semi reboot? Like why? Like who gives a shit if let's say, hey, maybe you want to recast Cavill? Who gives a shit? Just have it still be Man of Steel 2. It doesn't matter. Or like you want to do the Authority. The Authority doesn't make sense at the beginning of a universe. It doesn't make sense because it needs to have one. It's a totally goddamn early 2000s concept that has been done to death by now in terms of comics, movies, TV shows, cartoons. Like you're like 23 years behind the curve, James. Why are you making an Authority movie? It's ridiculous. But also, like, if you want, like, if there's no DC universe as it is,
Mhm.
then what is the Authority? What impact does that have? You know, like let's say, like after Justice League, after the Snyder Cut or after Cut, whatever you want to say, the Authority is like the American military's response, and you have them on
Mhm.
their own movie. And like, oh, that makes sense because you have this foundation, you have all these movies that are like they're there to set the bedrock of the DCU. But no, like
Mhm.
just have the Authority first wave, first phase. Like it makes no like there's no. It seems so happenstance. It seems so haphazard. And like why do a semi reboot? Like why? Like all these, especially like especially Peacemaker, especially Peacemaker 2, especially Waller, especially Creature Commandos, and like those are like your bigger things. And hey, even Supergirl. Like if we're gonna get Supergirl movie anyway, and you're giving her a movie right now anyway, there was no point. This could have just been the continuation of the DCU. Batman has a
Oh,
son. Yeah, could have still been the plot. Okay, maybe they can't get Ben Affleck back. Who cares?
yeah.
Just recast. You don't need to do like this whole song and dance, like, oh, we're starting fresh, but you're not. It's literally just you could. There's no point. It's pointless, and I'm just pissed off. That's why it's so. ridiculous. I don't understand it. I don't.
Yeah. Hold on. JK, we see your comment right here. Do we want to answer that first before we move forward? I think so. Let's just do it.
Sure. What's the
JK said,
comment?
I'm not sure Ezra is staying around. He said it was dependent on Ezra's status at the time. It sounded to me like a nice way of being positive for the Flash movie than saying, well, we tried afterward. So
That's what I agreed with that at first, like the first day, because everybody's coming out talking about this Flash movie, and we've heard stuff from inside Warner Brothers before about, oh hey, this movie's really good, and then it lands like a wet fart, right?
mhm.
So we've seen that before, but now people outside of Warner Brothers are talking about the movie supposedly being actually really good.
I don't believe that for
Then
1 second. I don't believe that.
I don't know that I personally do either, but why keep, like, if you've scrapped so much, right?
Mhm.
And I understand you have spent a metric shit ton of money on the Flash.
Mhm.
You can take a tax write off on the Flash just as easily as you can take a tax write off on anything else you're putting out. I think that they believe they have the chance to do something that's going to do potentially large numbers at the box office, like
Yeah.
850 and above. I think that they are really positioning themselves to keep Ezra around, for not just because of his mental health thing. I don't know how closely folks have been following this. A number of the charges against Ezra were dropped, and then he had the last one. I think he had a plea on,
Mhm.
to where they dropped everything like felony related and made him pay a fine, and then it's like what, like a year of probation in treatment. So I think that they feel like they can navigate the PR storm well enough. Um, that
Wait, brother, you cutting in and out.
Yeah.
You
I just
can.
want
it
to
is going to be a lot easier for them. What's that?
Oh, you go
Okay,
on.
you sound better now. Keep going.
Okay. I'm just saying, if the movie comes out and people like it, they're going to be very comfortable keeping Ezra around. I don't agree with that decision because, anytime, I understand charges were dropped on the more serious stuff, but anytime a conversation even around grooming comes up, I'm like, you might want to get out of there. But
I,
you know,
I
crazier things have happened in Hollywood.
I've seen. I'm gonna say this and then I'll let Elvis go. At this point, I'm convinced there's some. This is just me putting on my tinfoil hat on. I'm
Hmm.
convinced there's some more legal things behind this that we're being privy to, because they are holding on to Homeboy for dear life.
Yeah.
I'm convinced there's, I don't know, some clause that we will never know about. And for me, I don't know. And again, this is me putting my tinfoil hat on. So please, I apologize if I sound crazy, bro. I feel like if this wasn't the case, I feel like James Gunn, especially because of his past history, he'd be like, hey, you know what? He wouldn't even touch that. But for me, this just
Hmm.
sounds like there is something in place. We will never know about it, and everybody has to fall in line. That's what I'm
The
thinking about right now. Because
the
and then
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, and then if if for whatever reason you know he does get released or whatever, then that's some other problems that you know they probably don't want. And that's why I feel like
Hmm.
for me right now, it feels like James Gunn is just falling in line. That's it. He listen, he came in, he got the boot for Marvel, he's doing this thing over at DC. This sounds like somebody who don't want to lose his bag. It's like, okay, if I don't want to lose my bag, give me all this power. Let me fall in line and be a good little. What is it?
That's what I think. That's what I think.
Yeah,
Because I do not.
he's doing his thing.
Because I think that no, I tried this week to teach Stan accounts critical thinking skills, and it didn't work out. It didn't work out.
Why?
Uh,
Why? Okay, why would you do that?
because I okay, in that article that that article that came out with Peter Safran and James Gunn like saying like, "Oh, the Batgirl was unreleasable," and like, "Oh wow, I guess it really was bad." Like, are you insane to believe anyone that says that after they've been hired by the guy who did that and given high-paying, highly powerful jobs? You think they're gonna say that was a mistake?
Can I?
You think they're gonna say that?
I I
Can I?
think it
Hold
was
on,
very
Elvis.
calculated for them to have Saffron say
Yeah.
that instead of Gunn.
Let me
Because
hold on. Let
Saffron,
me.
he's not the guy you got to throw in front of cameras. And you see, because I guess probably about the first 24 hours after that, you had to talk online. The people still mad about Batgirl being canceled with the pitchforks out for him. I'm like, yeah, that was smart of them to do. Let him take those slings and arrows. So Gunn, he doesn't have maybe any additional negativity coming his way. I'll say it that way.
Fuck that. Fuck that. Fuck that. Fuck. Now I got the whiskey hitting. Now I'm gonna start speaking. Now listen. I don't buy the Batgirl shit at all. Why? Because that movie was not done. The movie was not
Yeah.
done. Of course, when you're sitting in front and doing a test screening, it's not going to be positive because there's still shit you have to do. I
Hmm.
don't believe that bullshit at all. I believe
And
if this was a
and you know
different
what?
scenario.
You know what I
Go
hate?
ahead.
People are saying it looked like a TV movie. Like it was a
It
TV
was
I
movie.
supposed to be.
thank
It
you.
was
It's for
like
HBO
Thank
Max.
you.
like
But
like
no,
again. So
no,
there's so many things about that movie that people just take as gospel because they don't think for 2 seconds.
yeah. The bigger thing with that is if you want to poke holes in the narrative around Batgirl, it had the same test score screenings as Black Adam. Once
Thank
Black Adam was one, no, not just once Black Adam was already finished. By the way,
wasn't it
that girl
Shazam
was.
also?
I hadn't heard anything about Shazam's test
No,
scores,
okay, but keep going, keep going.
but no, it had the same score as Black Adam's. Once Black Adam was already finished, Batgirl had just started post production. So, like you say, you don't have effects, you don't have the music score, you don't have. It's all kind of stuff missing from that film. They hadn't even done any reshoot. Well, I don't know if they would have gotten a reshoot since it was just a HBO Max film. But traditionally, you're not going to have reshoots in by that point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, hell, they might have still had to do work, just regular stuff. Filters, what else? Costumes, lighting. So yeah, so they were still a good 6 to 8 months away from that film even being ready.
Thank
So
you.
you know, like I said, the biggest hole to poke in that narrative is it looked the same from an audience standpoint as Black Adam.
You
It
know,
was the same quality of film.
you know what I hate about this
The
too, and why
what,
I've now lost respect for Safran and Gunn like entirely, is
what's
because
that?
them pushing that narrative like only feeds like the hate and like the
Thank
slander
you.
that the directors have had
Yeah,
to endure for like a year now. Like I think and it's been such I don't know like they were like, oh yeah, and then we would work with WB again, if
yeah,
the
that's
opportunity
dead. That's dead now.
I don't believe that for 1 second. And it's
Hmm.
so funny that people are like, oh, but they were probably like just terrible at their jobs. And like, yeah, okay, one, Bad Boys 3 was like a masterpiece, except for like the ending.
Mm.
I didn't like the ending because that kid should have died. He killed Joe Pantoliano. He hit the chief. How dare they let him live? I don't understand it. Um, Justice for the chief in Bad Boys 4. But well, again, Bad Boys 4, they got it back. If they were like so,
Yeah, I was just
if they
about
were
to
so
say
bad at their
Yep.
job, then oh,
they're
they're
doing it.
doing it again.
And then not that I was the biggest fan of it, but they did the best episodes of Miss Marvel as well. So I mean, if I'm seeing all these instances where people are saying, "Hey, you're good at your job, you turn in quality work," and then this one outlier here at Warner Brothers is, "Oh no, it was just such garbage." I look, okay, yes,
Unwatchable.
right? Could they have had a bad day at the office and turned in something not great? Absolutely, anybody can
It
do that, right?
happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we have so much evidence to the contrary of their track record that I don't know. I'm gonna need to see a little bit more. Like if they themselves were to come out and say, hey, we don't necessarily agree with how Warner Brothers is criticizing it,
But
but
it wasn't.
yeah,
We weren't that proud. We.
yeah, but
Mhm.
it wasn't our best work. We had limited resources to work with because it was going to streaming. If they were to come out and say that, I'd be like, yeah, okay, cool, all right, maybe something's there. But how this is just going on now, nah. But like I said,
Let me
And
that
I
was a
feel I
very
find it
calculated move
despicable. I
they
find
did
it
this week.
despicable for them to like stand by that. And like again, like I feel like that's why I hate it because like you know what I think that's really what pushed me over the edge with this slate because it is just so much like stuff that Gunn solely cared about. And you could say that about like the old DC slate and like James and Jeff Johns because like you're all based on stuff that he had added to the mythology. Obviously,
mhm.
like
Hmm.
but at least that felt like he was trying to cover a scope of DC. Get the bones going. Flash, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Justice League, Green Lantern. Get the bare bones. And this just feels like James Gunn like oh he got the keys to the toy chest.
Wait,
So he's
hold on,
he's gonna he's,
Elvis.
he's gonna make all the films he wants because of his favorite comics. I'm like it's and like he goes around just disparaging other directors. Like no, fuck this guy.
Let me also add this into like again. What for me. I you guys know me. I roll whenever it comes to this comic book shit. I like to go by logic. And let me tell you something right here. They could have just dodged a big bullet with this Batgirl stuff by just not saying anything at all. Like we
Thank you.
knew,
Oh my
bro.
fucking god!
We
Why
knew,
even bring it up?
bro. We knew the movie wasn't happening, and
Yeah,
then to
I
be
think people
fair,
had
we
moved on.
had
If people had moved on or
yeah
forgotten at this
bro,
point.
we moved on. We moved on. Why?
You're doing a reboot. I think it's because people realized it wasn't going to be a hard reboot. That was going to be a soft reboot, and they were like trying to they're like and I was already seeing like why they keeping this around but not Batgirl. And I think that's what. And
And
they also want to promote the Flash. And
okay,
again,
but
yeah, you have James Gunn saying this is the best DC movie of all time. Again, no, he's a liar. This guy's a liar. But they want to cover their bases. That's why I think they brought it up.
okay, and again, you could have also covered your bases by not saying again, we knew way back in the summer this movie is not coming out. We could move on from this. It's done, finito, nada. That's it. Adding this in just throws more fuel to the fire. I also wouldn't in Elvis's defense also, I also wouldn't be surprised if that's what was the jumping off point for people as well. Why would you even poke that bear? You know that's a sensitive topic for people. And rightfully so. Because again, I'm still on the side of why are we throwing so much dirt on a movie that still had so much more to be done to it? I think it's wrong. I think it's nasty work. And if you're going to be done with it, be fucking done with it. You don't need to bring it up while you're announcing this whole entire slate. And for me, that was like one of the downsides of this whole thing for me because it was like at this point, low key, I can say, yeah, unprofessional.
Yeah.
Unprofessional. You didn't need to do it.
I wouldn't be surprised if Zaslav himself specifically either A told them to mention that or B fed that question to one of the reporters at the announcement event. Like, hey, ask them about this. So then Saffron can give this very structured answer that I had to give because Zaslav he took a lot of heat for that early on, especially that was when he was just taking over. Warner Brothers stock was
Mhm.
tanking and stuff. So and little secret about rich people, they have egos and they are bruised very easily.
Mhm.
Look no further than homeboy at Twitter right now. Like every fucking day, it's something because somebody hurt his feelings. I think it's partially the same thing with Zaslav. Now that some of his decisions has started turning the corner and investors are the stock price is still low, but they're happier with the way things are going. They've been giving higher ratings from a couple of the banks out there. Now his stuff is starting to look better for him, but it's that one thing where people were giving him shit for and he can't get over it. So
Mhm.
I would not be surprised if that was coordinated by him. But that could be my tinfoil hat. So who knows?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And again, also too, like this is pretty smart again, and I don't know if it was mentioned before, but it's like, hey, by Gunn saying this, now it's no longer Peter Safran, it's James Gunn is the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Nice way to just like go ahead and shift it over. But we can we can steer the conversation into another direction too, because again, we all know supposedly Ezra's coming back, and he's also leaving the door open for other folk to come back as well. So are we thinking, certain people will be safe? Who do you think could come back? Who do you think cannot come back in their respective roles? Let's talk about that outside of Ezra Miller.
Momoa is safe. They're already talking about Aquaman 3. So I think he's the one sure bet. Now the rest of that cast, like Amber Heard, nah, yeah, I'm sorry. After all that went on this summer, she's done. Yeah,
How do we know?
yeah.
How do we know? I mean, listen, they got Ezra, bro. I mean,
that's very true, and that's where a little bit of sexism kind of comes in. I get Ezra's the star of that movie, whereas Amber Heard is a supporting character here. But we've all heard the stories that her screen time has been cut down drastically. There was supposedly a cut where she dies. I don't know if that's still going to be kept in. So who knows on that end? We see Yaya. He done took a bag from Marvel, so who knows if he's going to stick around? He might have seen the writing on the wall and was like, you know what, I'm good. So I think him definitely. I think Gal is going to be determined on what she wants to do. She might be feeling some kind of way because they basically showed Patty the door. So who knows about that? Affleck, you're not going to see him on screen again. Looks like he's probably going to direct something for them. So yeah, that everybody's talking about. Oh, they should get Cavill for the Authority. If I'm Henry Cavill, I'm telling them to kiss my ass. Like,
yeah.
yeah, like I understand. Gunn and them didn't have anything to do with it, but yeah, after all that I just went through with Black Adam and the very public embarrassment, and not to mention that numerous franchises want Cavill. I'm sorry, I'm not coming back for that. As far as that, I think that's your major guys. Am I missing anybody? Oh, Ray Fisher. Yeah,
Oh,
we know that. Yeah, we know that's not going
yeah.
anywhere.
Hell
Um,
no. Hell no.
and the thing is too, Gunn. Seeing as how he's had a second chance of his own, he probably would have been all for it. But then Fisher just started coming at him out of nowhere online about stuff like, yeah. So that's not going to happen. But I think that's everybody, unless I'm drawing a blank, which I'm sure I am. But
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, Elvis. You have any thoughts about potentials coming
My,
back?
I think that, well, I think the reason why Gunn and Safran are hyping up these like main movies and why they very strategically, at least Gunn did in the video. In the video, he's like he kept on using very vague, very open-ended terms to describe Shazam and Aquaman and the Flash. Like he said,
mhm.
oh, like I'm Blue Beetle. Like, oh, this could fit in, or this slots right in. This is separate. This is disconnected from the old DCU, and it leads into that, but it was all phrased very sort of vaguely. And I feel
Mm,
like someone mentioned this, like, okay, they're announcing like 6 movies and shows and all that kind of stuff, but Gunn said it's only part of the first phase. um and they're like, well, if DC has all these, WB has all these financial issues, financial trouble, trying to cut back costs, how are they going to make all these movies that they plan to make? um
Yes,
and
because
someone's
producing partners exist, guys.
yeah, and but also so we're like, okay, but they have to make sure that these movies that are already in the can make money. And so I
yep.
feel
Yeah.
like they're not gonna do anything to jeopardize that. So again, I still think that Momoa is gone. I mean, the Momoa is gonna be Lobo. I still think that. I don't think they're making Aquaman 3. I don't. Like, say very much, Capra can say, oh, he always saw the trilogy and all that, but still up in the air. Um, I think that they're not gonna say anything that might, like, oh, he's Lobo, he's not be Aquaman anymore. They're starting Aquaman. They're doing whatever they want with Aquaman. Afterward, in the new DCU, is their fear would be people might not see the next one then. because you no longer, again, people have been kind of disparaging the idea like, oh, why do you care if something gets a sequel? But a lot of these things, especially with comic book movies in these universes, they're made to have sequels.
Yeah.
You don't
Hmm.
get it's not Venom. It's not the first Iron Man. Even the first Iron Man stands on its own. Okay, it's not like, that's why I love Sony movies, because like, yeah, okay, they have like these really stupid post credit scenes, right? But the movie itself are strict, simple, self-contained. All right, so far. I don't know. Madam Web can be pretty dicey. We'll see how that turns out. But these movies are made to have sequels, so you're not going to get a full experience. Like people are like, oh, you should enjoy Shazam 2 as its own thing. Who cares if it doesn't if you don't get Shazam 3? The thing is, it's so clear that even that by just how these movies are made, Shazam 3 won't be its own thing. Shazam 3 won't have
Mm,
like this solid, conclusive character ending. You know, and it's a shame. It's a shame that's how these things are done. So I think that they're not going to say anything. I think that Momoa is as Aquaman. He's becoming Lobo. They haven't announced Lobo yet. They'll probably announce Lobo after like
mhm.
Aquaman finishes his run. Like the Flash, I can see them keeping Azrael. Now, of course, there's the chance that's all a lie, and they're waiting to like generally let him go. I can see them keeping Azrael. My main fear is that if they do, then they're just gonna continue this bullshit of not making a proper Flash movie. Like I
Mm,
want a proper Flash movie, and Gunn is saying like, oh hey, the Flash resets the universe, and that's what leads to the new DCU, which I don't understand why that would be the case. It makes no sense. You don't need to do that if you're starting fresh, but they're not starting fresh. So they're doing like this Flashpoint thing, and I have to say, the Flash movie is starting to sound like a really faithful adaptation of Flashpoint, because that's the same stupid mistake DC did with Flashpoint.
mm,
They were like they were like, oh, we'll have Flashpoint reboot, and then they decided to keep a bunch of stuff canon.
yep.
And they led to all these issues where they had to be like, okay, we need to catch up, we need to have miniseries, we have to have events to clarify everything. And I feel like it's not going to work out in the long run, or it's just going to be clunky, and that's what it feels like. This entire slate feels clunky. um, Gal, I can see staying,
Mhm.
especially if Shazam 2 does well. I can see Shazam 2, if it does well, um, I can see Levi staying.
Mhm.
Again, I think he said some wild things I don't agree with, and make me really not want to see his face anymore.
Yeah,
But
but
then you
that's
have,
Saffron's baby, isn't
yeah,
it?
that's
Not,
Saffron's name.
not
Saffron,
Yeah.
yeah.
like the thing is, right? The Rock gets so much credit for like, oh, he worked on this movie for 15 years. No, that movie was Shazam. Shazam was being worked on for over a decade, and
Mhm.
Saffron was trying his hardest to make sure it happened. All right,
Hmm.
um, and I can, and then you have Gunn's. Someone asked him the question, and Gunn gave a very unique answer. We're like, I'm not going to change my plans. You know,
Yeah,
and like I feel
Yeah.
like
because of
there is still there's still a possibility we get Monster Society movie. And
Yeah.
yeah, like I say, I think Gunn believes in second chances for folks. So
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah, I can see Levi staying around, especially because like I said, that's Saffron's baby. Aquaman to a lesser extent, but it's just because his company put up most of the money for that. But he's been heavily involved with Shazam for years,
yes.
Yeah.
so
Longer
that
than
that one,
Flash than Rock was for Black Adam, let's
yeah,
be honest. But I
Yeah.
have to say, and this makes me wonder though, because you have this DC universe, this new semi half soft reboot, and you
Mhm.
have a universe that is now starting off with like um, a built-in history, backstories, teams that already have a bunch that already are pre-established, And then I'm wondering if The Rock, screwed himself over, um, by forcing the Cavill card. Because
Oh no.
imagine if Black Adam, I think Black Adam, even if it didn't perform well, if it didn't have the Superman cameo, I think it might have been grandfathered in. I think we would have gotten more of a chance of getting Black Adam too, if
I can see that, especially what you mentioning about having a universe with history and some teams already preformed.
and you have
Because
Waller.
Mhm.
yeah,
Waller's still canon. Harcourt is still
right,
Yeah.
canon.
and that allows you to slide in the JSA. Because I'm thinking right with this authority. Because like I said, authority was out of left field, but I'm thinking they're around before. I mean, well, yeah, they have to be, but there's no Justice League in this universe yet. That's my theory. I think the Authority, I think they're gonna form in response to the Authority. So when you do finally get a Justice League movie, I don't know, maybe they try to do what Morrison did, had Superman kind of lead that team, and then he's like, yeah, this really isn't for me.
Mhm.
And then the Justice League forms in response to that. That's the only way I can see the Authority somewhat making sense in this universe, other than it being something Gunn just wanted to pull out there because it's unknown and that's what he does
Yeah.
really well with. So, okay, I'm
So,
going to be looking out for that for the next few months.
and like I think the moment you have Cavill, who James Gunn does not want for whatever reason, I don't understand it. Like, oh, we want a young Superman, but like that man's like 50. It's ridiculous. But the moment you have that face, you can't go back. I think that's what really screwed him in the long run. And now, neglecting all the rumors that he was trying to do a coup, which he was obviously trying to do. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Exactly, like JK says, Rock Station lost the power play. Like I think that even if that had happened, which I do think it did, I think that did happen. There might have been some more hope for Black Adam 2 and for Hawkman and for all the JSA stuff they wanted to do. But that's you can't get past that phase. And like with I think it's what Shazam has a lot more luck. And they're keeping their cards with Shazam because you solve Superman from below the neck down. Yeah, you don't. It's like Gunn said in the video. Shazam has been its own thing, separate. It's been kind of off to the side. So that's a justification for it. Other than that, like it's up in the air. I can see Ezra saying. They're saying now that Ben Affleck might be doing Superman Legacy. So fingers crossed,
Yeah, here's my thing with what was I gonna say? I think honestly, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna sound like a dick when I'm saying this, bro. The Rock will be fine because The Rock has a whole of the franchise that he can total his ass back to. Vin Diesel done cried out for this man to come back.
God, no, please.
Well, let me hear me out. Elvis,
I can't handle The Rock and Charlize
hear
Theron
me
at the
out.
same time.
Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. Again, I'm speaking logistics. Speaking logistics. There's a whole other franchise where the head of that franchise wants to Rock back. Number 2, Hobbs and Shaw. Bro, Hobbs and Shaw.
That's the one I think he'll do.
Exactly. Hobbs and Shaw is in develop. Well, it's on hold, and one of the reasons why I think it's on hold is because I think The Rock had very strong plans for the
exactly.
DCU.
And now his schedule just freed up a lot. So
exactly. So what is the most logical thing to do? I'm gonna go back there. Still, he could probably make just as much money or even more money by continuing to flourish over there. And like I said before, Elvis is going to hate me, and Elvis, I love you, but I know you're going to hate me for this, and I think I've mentioned this before. I can 100% see a scenario where in the final Fast and Furious movie, there is a scene where Hobbs comes back, guns blazing, and the theater goes crazy. I know you hate it, but it's very probable because, again, The Rock doesn't have to deal with all of the behind the scenes, power plays over there. They want him over there. And I'm pretty sure Vin will bend backwards a little bit, just so he could come back and they can have their swan song. So I think The Rock is fine. We can forget about Black Adam. Like we can forget about all that. And again, all we got to do is if you want to throw Black Adam in the mix, recast him later. That's all. We can forget about that. I think he will be fine. Now, as for Zachary Levi, like I said it last week. For me, like if you're gonna compare, offenses, Zachary Levi's offense is very low on the totem pole compared to somebody who was terrorizing a whole fucking continent. Like, am I wrong?
No,
you're
not. You're not.
So
you're not.
For me, saying what you said about COVID, it doesn't equate to what that person was doing over there in Hawaii. It doesn't. It doesn't, and like I said before, I know people may disagree with me here, but again, we are in a whole different phase with COVID right now. A lot of the world, as much as we don't like to say it, they are moving on past it, and this is something that Zachary Levi, they can move on from that. So I think those are the two things that are working for Zachary Levi for him to stay. Now,
I agree. I do agree.
let me finish this thought.
I know. Let me just, one thing I won't go on.
Okay, go ahead.
I won't begrudge David F. Sandberg for getting a bag either. He deserves to make these gigantic blockbusters and get that hefty paycheck. It's great. He's a fun guy.
Yeah, and I was also gonna say this one last thing also. Aquaman. I can see a scenario where there's an Aquaman 3 depending on how number 2 performs. And again, if they want to do Lobo, they can still do Lobo. Maybe that could come after Aquaman 3. But I think it's all depend because again, we've seen this time and time again. A lot of the reasons why we see movies continuously have sequels, even when we know they shouldn't have sequels, or regardless of if they should or not, is because of money. So if Aquaman 2 performs very well, again, WB is in a position where they are trying to recoup as much money as possible. So it would be dumb for them not to do Aquaman 3 if number 2 does well.
And that's why I think it does happen. Like I said, Safran, he has the more personal ties to Shazam, the Shazam franchise, but his company is also the main producing partners with the Aquaman franchise. So outside of Warner Brothers proper, they're going to get the second biggest bag on that film. And if it does well, I can definitely see him wanting to continue. Not even if it does. I'm not even going to say it has to do like what the first one did. The first one was like what 1.2, 1.5 billion. He gets to that 850, 900 range. I think you're absolutely going to see in Aquaman 3. Because like I said, that's taking money out of his own pocket. If he does, especially now that he's a co-producer of the studio. So that's 2 bags he can get in relative to the cut that his company would get for producing, then whatever bonuses they would get from Aquaman. So that's why I see that happening. I had completely forgot about Levi when we first started talking about the actors. I think he stays around. You can't keep the main kids around, and I think they're the stronger part of the film. But that's the problem with you being so disorganized. It took them years to get it.
The thing is, right? Them becoming older is like the plot point in this one. Like it's about Billy aging out of the foster care system, and so I can see maybe if they do a third one, they do what they did with Grace Curry. Grace Caroline Curry, where like maybe if they do a third one, they have Levi back, but also we see this transition to Asher Angel if he still wants to be part of this. If they like, oh, he's too young, just being the hero, like becoming the face.
Yeah, that's really the only way you could do it if you keeping him around. But then I don't know. Do they do that for the entire cast? I like. Okay, we've done the gimmick with Mary Marvel once. Okay, we do it with Asher. He's the main guy, so I can understand it there. But it feels like that's starting to stretch it a bit. If you do it with the rest of the family, I don't know if folks are going to be down for that. But who knows? I could be wrong.
Again, this is me putting on my tinfoil hat. And again, I have a very basic knowledge of Flashpoint. So what if, with Flashpoint happening and then Shazam 3 happening, a little later after that, what if, those changes justify them, making certain changes to the casting or whatever. So again, it's not as drastic of a difference.
I mean, that was already the purpose of them doing it. Flashpoint, not necessarily with Shazam, but they were gonna. That's how initially, before we thought Cavill was back, Supergirl Sasha. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce her name because I don't want to butcher it.
Sasha Calle.
Calle. Okay, thank you. She was.
You go ahead.
What's that?
I was gonna
Yeah.
ask something about Sasha, but I'll wait to
Oh,
finish.
okay. Yeah, she was gonna replace Cavill, and then there were rumors when this was when Ezra was really wilding out that the change was going to be in one of the reshoots, that they were just okay after the Flashpoint resets, the Flash would take the cowl off and it would be another person under it other than Ezra.
Yeah.
But it seems like they've kind of worked out their plan going forward with him, so we know that's not happening. The Sasha and see, that's one I really feel bad for, because
Oh, I
Oh
do.
shit, that's right. That's right.
yeah,
Can I
because
just say this? Can I say this? I mean, one thing
yeah, go ahead.
about Sasha. Like, I know I feel so bad for her too, because one, they canceled her movie, and two, they're still making a Supergirl movie. They're still making one, and
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 that's
they're and
the
if she has to suffer, she has to. Maybe she doesn't care about it, maybe because it was just a job. Who knows? But she's still early career. She can bounce back from this. But
mhm.
imagine if she actually cared, if she does care, and maybe she does. I don't want to disparage anyone,
Mm-hmm.
but she has to look through the next, like, say, 2 to 3 years of just blonde, blue-eyed, pearlescent skin,
Yeah,
fucking
bro,
fan cast.
that
That
Mm,
that is
that
just so disgusting.
that
It's
feel a
the
bit nasty. And we talk about race swaps and whether they're genuine or not and stuff, but that would feel super nasty, bro. Like,
yeah.
which is what I'm going to tell you is another character that's going to happen with, and people aren't thinking it, or they're thinking that it's still a chance for this person to come back because of how Gunn worded things. It's going to happen with Sasha, and I'm going to feel mad about that one because they already had plans for her going forward. This other character stuff is still up in the air. It's gonna happen
Mm.
with Canary too, and that's gonna be those two are gonna be nasty, bro.
I mean,
Like
let's talk about Canary for a hot second, because what's
I
one thing
mean,
we
yeah,
didn't see about is Canary.
yeah, and see that's the
I,
one when I called myself being a not even called myself being one, but that's just the one time I got my scooper hat on and started talking to folk at studios around here and stuff. So when that one was announced, I felt kind of vindicated. That film is not coming, guys. I'm
it's not
sorry. I
coming
know. I
out.
know y'all fans out here on Twitter and stuff. You pushed for it. Hey, y'all need to be. You should be commended that you got a multi-billion-dollar corporation to at least consider giving you what you wanted.
Shit. I
It's
mean,
not happening.
hey, let's talk about. I'm gonna throw this in there too. This is twice, Twitter has been able
Yeah,
to get WE to move on their behalf. You
yeah,
got the Snyderverse shit, and then you got this.
yeah.
So hey,
It's not.
I give Twitter a lot of shit, but I will clap because hey, you made it happen twice, twice, twice. But the movie's not coming
Mhm.
out. Like, it's not happening at all.
No, it's not. And the not to say be a pun or anything, guys. The canary in the coal mine should be for you. Journey and Misha Green are both doing another project, and they're doing it together.
Mm,
So that's at least another 2 years. And they want to go younger so they can be cheaper. I mean, don't get me wrong, she doesn't look her age, but she's like 36 now or so. So you're talking about by the time they would start, maybe 38. By the time the film comes out, she's around 40. Like, if you're talking about keeping a black canary around for a certain period of time, it feels like she would be aging out um of the role. So yeah, that's not happening, guys. I fear the same thing is going to happen with Sasha. They're going to let her do this. They're going to let her be in this Flash movie, and then it's going to go. Hey, we're going ahead with Woman of Tomorrow, which I feel like she could fit Woman of Tomorrow. I
I
mean, I
think
haven't
so
seen
too.
Flash yet, so yeah, we haven't seen Flashpoint yet, so maybe her take on Supergirl is something more, super different. But Woman of Tomorrow, that's a little darker, not dark, but harder edged
Yeah.
Supergirl. So I feel like, especially since it was in the old part of the old DCEU, I feel like that take on the character is probably one that could fit in Supergirl. So I don't know why they would have to recast. I understand why they want to. They want their own actors and actresses who so they can feel like Gunn and Safran can feel like they have their own stamp on this universe. But man, those are two probable recasts that are going to come that are going to feel like some nasty work, bro. Like,
I'm gonna be
because
honest.
you're going to get the blonde haired, blue eyed white girls for both of them, and yeah, like I said, I'm typically not a fan of race swaps, but the optics of that are going to look bad, and oh, buddy, I hope they're ready for it.
I'm gonna say this, and again, I may get blowback from it. Yo, listen, at this point, we know we have a good, strong feeling that Black Canary movie may not happen. Don't mention it.
Yeah.
Just don't. I mean, you already announced the slate. Now, again, the other thing here that we may be brushing past is if I'm not mistaken, James Gunn said things can change,
Hmm.
subject to change. So who knows? Who knows? Maybe they couldn't carry Sasha over to Woman of Tomorrow, and who knows? Maybe this Black Canary movie may happen. So again, I'll leave that smidget of hope there for people, a smidget of hope. But also at the same time, if you're not gonna do it, bro, just don't mention it. Don't mention it. I don't want to see Homeboy put himself in another position where he's speaking through somebody else or speaking through decisions that were before him, and then now he's
Hmm.
in the hot seat once again. So if you're not gonna do it, don't say it. We could put context clues together and we could move the fuck on. That's my
But see
stance on that.
that hot seat is going to come inevitably because the minute they do a Green Arrow movie, you're throwing Canary in a Green Arrow movie. You're not doing you're I won't say you're not, but 90% chance you're not doing a Green Arrow movie without Canary, especially since you're probably not going to do an origin story again, since we just had a
Yeah,
series that took you through his origin for what, 8 years. So this is going to be probably an established Green Arrow. You're going to get a Canary in that film. It's going to be a different actors, guys. I'm just preparing the folks now
yeah,
who were excited for Journey. It's going to be a shitstorm.
yeah. And also too, I'm gonna and I don't know if this is cutting giving them bail or whatever, but it's just like if it doesn't happen, let's talk about the scenario where Journey and Sasha don't come through. It's like, hey, you know what? This is just a casualty of just a very very shittily managed
Hmm.
movie studio. It's just a casualty of that. That's all it is. Like at the end of the day, if it doesn't happen, I would love. You know what? I have my issues with race swaps as well, but listen, they're gonna commit to the bit. Fucking commit to the bit.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't happen, again, it's just the result of just poor, shitty management. That's just all it is. And again, if hey, again, another thing, we're probably brushing over as well. It's just like, hey, you know what? There's he said it himself. There's the opportunity for people who did play these roles before, to come back. So again, there's a smidget of hope, but I'm also giving some bail too, because again, we wouldn't be here if this entire ship was run more properly.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be here for that. But you know, we've reached the hour mark. So I guess we can go through some more of the slate. So we mentioned Woman of Tomorrow. We also have Batman, Brave and the Bold. We got Booster Gold that's coming out. We got Lanterns. We got Paradise Lost. So again, we can kind of go through the slate. So we
Oh
can
my
touch a little bit.
god. Oh my
We
god.
we can,
I forgot about Paradise Lost. I blocked it from my memory because it's so.
so we again because I love controversy, because I am I had some whiskey as well. We can talk a little bit about first Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, about maybe why that story was chosen. What do we think couldn't happen in that story. I'm doing this because I know Tom King is a divisive writer, but I want
Terrible
to poke
writer, you
that
mean?
bear.
There's nothing divisive
I want to
about
poke that
facts.
bear. Let's talk about Woman of Tomorrow. Let's go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay, you know what?
Tom King wins again, guys.
Okay,
No,
Yeah.
but
no, see,
seriously,
listen,
but no.
the only
First,
reason, the only reason
hold
this
up,
was picked.
hold up.
All right.
Before we get into the weeds on that, I do want to give Gunn props for this one thing. Hey, man, finally somebody's doing what comic folks everywhere have been saying for years. reference the actual books that you're going to be adapting or doing with your stories. He drove up like I was watching a Tom King interview on YouTube the other night, and he was talking about the response a Woman of Tomorrow has seen, because folk are asking about it. Oh, we're gonna get a sequel? Are we gonna get a hardcover? He came out and said it. He's like, guys, that book did not sell well, like by his standards of the type of numbers he puts out, but also just it did not sell well in general. Like the
Oh, so we
first,
were so close to getting rid of the Tom King curse, and Gunn stopped
but
it.
the first because the first issue did like 40,000 copies, respectable numbers, but King usually at least pulls in double that. So yeah, they weren't thrilled with that, and then each subsequent issue dropped. So, which is typical of most comics, but still, it didn't sell great coming out the gate, and by the time it ended, it kind of ended with a whimper. I like Woman of Tomorrow, but yeah, so they Gunn did something that actually helped the companies who content that he's just going to be mining for the next decade. I wish Marvel would do this more as well. But yes, show people, hey, even if we're not doing a one-to-one adaptation, this is the stories we're inspired by. Now go out and buy these books. Support this industry that we make billions of dollars off of, but these people see, these creators and these comic shop owners see very little of the benefit from. So I was happy to see that. Now we can get into the rest of it, as whether or not how people are feeling about King and how he's going to be tied to the DC going forward.
Hold up, Elvis, hold
My
up, bro.
God, you can't. No.
Bro,
Elvis,
Elvis,
go ahead.
Okay, I listen again. I like to come into these conversations with a bit of logic. I can't not come to these conversations with logic. All right, I'm gonna say a lot of things here that may piss people off. All right, I 100% understand the gripes people have with King. I get it. I understand it. This is somebody who has read most of the Batman run. I get the gripes. I think it's probably better than what we've gotten in the past after that, but that's another conversation for another day.
It absolutely. Okay. You just gave me an idea. You're doing a deep dive into that Batman run later on. You're doing a video, and I'm coming on.
I got you. We got you. So I understand that, but I'm going to talk mainly about the Supergirl thing, right? So reason number one why I support Woman of Tomorrow, or why I agree with Woman of Tomorrow happening. One, we already have established that these heroes coming into these movies, they've been around for a minute. Cool. Number two, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is, as much as I like it, it's a solid standard superhero story, thrown in with, King style on it. Cool. But also number three, this is the most important one. I could be very wrong with this next statement, but I'm going to say it anyways. Before this, in terms of comic books, the energy around Supergirl was very minimal. Nobody was really talking about the Supergirl TV show outside of the fans of that show. And mind you, the last ongoing run that Supergirl had,
that run was bad.
It was bad. And then on top of that, it somehow got saved from cancellation, only to be canceled again. So that run was not good. It was not good at all. Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow came around, and despite it not, selling well, the energy started to pick up a little bit. People were talking about Supergirl a little more than usual. And again, this was also around the time when King finally found his bag again, meaning he's not going on these ongoing series. We're just letting him do his own thing and put his own spin on it. And I started to see the energy shift a little bit more towards the positive, or just the energy just jumping up in general. So I think
he said he's coming back to ongoing, by the way.
Yeah. So, but again, I say all that to say this: when you throw all that in there, I think it makes sense. Now, riding aside or how you feel about King, this is just logistically why I think James Gunn made that decision to adapt Supergirl Women of Tomorrow. And also, too, we know these movies do not get the panel for panel translation. There's going to be a director that's going to come in and can really help tone
I'm
down.
gonna stop you there, Ro, because you
Okay,
need to
go.
understand that Tom King is part of the writers' room of the DCU. He's one of the architects going behind it. And now I understand.
Mm-hmm.
What you're saying makes sense. That you want to have like a
Yeah,
Supergirl story that explores, like, say, her
yeah,
backstory and her exploring backstory,
yeah.
and that's something that Woman of Tomorrow does.
Wait, hold
But
on. Wait, Elvis, hold on. Time out, time out. I
okay,
gotta.
you've been going on for like rambling. None of the things you're saying make sense.
No, no, no. Hold on. Forget that. I'm talking about Perp Mighty. He said make Sydney Sweeney Supergirl. People go line up. Yeah, he's right about that. I'll go see that shit. I'll go see
Make
that.
her
She's ready
make her
Spider Woman.
make
She's ready Spider Woman. Okay.
make her power. Yeah, that too. But if you're gonna do any, no, make her Power Girl. She has the
Ooh.
she has the tools for Power Girl.
Okay, okay. But yeah, no. Go ahead. Debate me, Elvis. Go ahead. Go
All right.
ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead.
No, I agree with what you said about that. But
Mm-hmm.
my main issue is that I feel like, again, I've said it before. I don't know if I said this like as it was going on, when we were
Mm-hmm.
setting up. I don't know if I said it before, but a lot of this slate feels like Gunn's own biases and tastes,
Mm-hmm.
and as chaotic and as unfulfilled as the original slate was, I felt like it was wanting to tell like this more enveloping, more engrossing, more encapsulating DC, universe. And this just
Mm-hmm.
feels like Gunn, like, oh, I like that comic, I like that comic, I like that writer, I like this writer, and that's it. And it feels really like just, I don't know, uninteresting.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he's like picking a Tom King book, that he's called Tom King like a genius, that he says Mr. Miracle is a fucking masterpiece. I can't trust this motherfucker in DC. And the fact that Tom King was picked to be a DC architect in the writers' room, like that's insanity. Like, and the fact that maybe a director and maybe like a screenwriter, maybe the movie will be different, but I don't think that, like, with Tom King like being that close to this, it gives me Jeff Johns vibes of, like, just pander to this writer that the guy in charge seems to like or has power. And like, it makes me worried for other products down the line, like, say, fucking New Gods. If they make a New Gods movie, we were like, we had fucking dodged a bullet, you know, of that Ava DuVernay and Tom King Mr. Miracle movie, well, New Gods movie, but they were adapting fucking Mr. Miracle. And Ava DuVernay, fantastic director. She's done great stuff. She's done terrible stuff, but she knows
Mm-hmm.
when she knows what she's doing, and when she like has like the subject matter that she's like really invested in,
Mm-hmm.
fantastic work directing. But I don't want to see Tom King have his imprint on this, especially for his stories. And this is the big defense people give his fucking comics, especially like the
Mm-hmm.
miniseries and maxi series, right? Oh, they're
Mm-hmm.
not meant to be like the regular stuff. He's just doing his own thing. He's being unique. He's doing a different take on it. But the thing is, right, the way Tom King writes these books is that he acts like, and the way they're written is his tone of like, oh, this is like we're doing something different, but in a way that like really sort of digs into these characters. But they're the most superficial things about these
Mm-hmm.
characters, like the Adam Strange Max series, the Strange Adventures. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think the only way that would ever appeal to anyone is if they'd never fucking read an Adam Strange book in their life, but they like, and that's just, you see it with Adam Strange, you see it with
Mm-hmm.
Commandy that went shoot in, you see it with Mr. Miracle. They're centered around, you have the most baseline idea of what these comics are like, and then
Mm-hmm.
Tom King is like, oh, let's add my own bullshit, my own biases on these, and then suddenly people get this really wrong idea. And so that's why I don't understand James Gunn thinking that he's a good writer. And I feel like the reason why a lot of Supergirl fans like really like Woman Tomorrow is because they've been getting crumbs and they've been starving, and like, I know an oasis will seem like the ocean to the right
Yeah.
person. Okay.
Yeah, and and I'll even I'll take accountability as well, because Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow was, I think that's the first Supergirl book that actually no, that's a lie. I read some of the last ongoing. I read some of, there were some things about it that I thought was cool, but overall, there's a reason why it got canned the way it did. But for me, when I read Woman of Tomorrow, I was like, okay, it's cool. I didn't think it was anything groundbreaking. I thought it was just a pretty solid Supergirl story. And again, because of I guess because of like the adventures that they go on, and I guess how kind of like sci-fi the story could be. I think there's certain elements there's like some bare bones that I think James Gunn saw is like, okay, we can flesh this out more into a movie. Like I said, I'm not dismissing anything that you're saying. I'm just saying I see parts of that story that James Gunn in his movie mind said, okay, we can do more and bring this to the big screen. So that's my thing on there. So again, I completely see what you're saying, and I totally understand 100%. But yeah, I'm potentially looking at it from James Gunn's mind, and that's why I'm like, okay, that's why he's looking at it from what he did. And again, if I'm James Gunn, I'm looking at the series that's just like that probably has brought the most buzz, and I could be wrong. This is the one that brought the most buzz as of late. And again, AJ's probably read a little bit more Supergirl, and you've probably read more Supergirl than I have. But again, if I'm looking at it from that stance, I can see why. And if there's another Supergirl story that could fit better, I would love to hear it. That will fit better for the big screen. I would love to hear it. If you guys have one. Does it sound like it?
Wait, what's the question?
Nah, I was muted. The only thing I could think of, and that would have to be years off because you haven't gotten Lanterns yet. You could do, because Kara is sometimes, at least compared to Clark, is sometimes a bit of a hothead. So you could potentially, but like I said, that's probably 5-10 years down the road. Explore the era where she was a Red Lantern for a little bit. So, but like I said, that's the only other thing, and that's me more so just wanting to see that on screen. I don't know, I don't necessarily know if that works for this what they're going for as far as with their slate because I don't know who she would necessarily be angry at here, angry enough to become a Red Lantern. Put it that way. I don't know if that works for what they're going for right now. Who knows? Could be wrong, but that would be another story that could be kind of interesting. But I haven't been the biggest Supergirl fan over the years. I got into her a bit with New 52, read a few things. What was that Supergirl story Tamaki did? I went back and read that one probably about 6 months ago. That was decent.
Yeah, that was like right around the time Rebirth came around. That's when that dropped.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on that the subtitle of that, but it'll come back to me. But that's the only other one I would maybe potentially
Being super.
Yes, thank you. Supergirl being super.
Elvis, you were gonna say something?
No. What was the question again? I forgot.
Hello. Oh, I think
Rose gone. Is it still recording? Yeah, it's still live. All right.
I'm here. Don't worry. I'm here.
All right, that was weird. Okay. Again, I didn't remember the question. You were talking about Supergirl.
Yeah, I said the question I asked was, is there a better Supergirl story that you feel would fit better for a live action? A more established Supergirl.
More established. The thing is, right? Supergirl is like Power Girl. They keep changing her like willy-nilly. So again, I agree. I said I agree with you that like you want like something that explores your backstory that really kind of goes a little bit more in depth. This is a perfectly fine story to start with, but again, Tom King himself is like so entrenched right now. Like he's like right there, and doing this. He's in the writers' room. He's an architect for this new DC film slate. And the thing is, right, when you have like James Gunn, again, he's made multiple comments for every fucking Tom King book, even Strange Adventures, which is like Abomination. Is like I worry now more about his comic taste and the fact that again like seems to be just his Laurie was a passion project of mine. It seems like that Gunn is the kind of guy who likes comics that are very like marketed as not your grandpa's comics, this isn't your regular Adam Strange comic, it's deep and dark. This isn't your regular Mr. Mirror comic, it's deep and dark. This isn't your regular Supergirl comic, it's dark and gritty. And I'm like, that's the most fucking annoying kind of comic fan. Okay, and that's the vibes I'm getting from Gunn. It is.
Okay. That's fair. I understand. Okay. All right. So, well, let's moving on then, because I feel like we've maybe exhausted the Supergirl one a little bit. Let's talk about Brave and Bold. How do we feel about that era of Batman with Damian thrown into the picture, with potentially the other Bat family members thrown into the picture? How do we feel about that?
I'm glad to get my murder son on the big screen finally. Um, that's another recast probably gonna happen, even though we never saw her on the big screen. So if the Bat family's there, you're gonna get Dick, you're gonna get Jason. You gotta assume Barbara's gonna be there. Um, I don't know how much deeper they'll go than that. Tim maybe. But we just had Tim on Titans. Of course, you just had Dick too, so you can't really use that as an excuse not to have him. So maybe they do Tim as well. I don't know if we get fully deep into the whole Bat family bag now. Maybe they want another girl, so maybe they bring in Helena. You could bring in Cass
Ooh.
too. Yeah, you could bring in Cass too, but they seem to want to go the direction of having Barbara be Batgirl. So if you're going to bring in Cass, you would probably be bringing her in as Orphan. But I also just thought about you just had Cass in Birds of Prey, and folks really didn't like that version.
Mm.
So maybe that doesn't happen. Um, one thing I got to get with folks, right? They
Mm-hmm.
say with Damien, don't whitewash Damien. I agree. Damien is half
Oh, I hate that too.
Arabic
I hate that
Asian,
too.
but y'all do realize the boy is 50% white, right?
Yeah, like you know
Mm.
what?
Like
I actually, do they think that like every mixed child is like brown, or like not
thank
white?
you, thank you,
Like I have so many
because
mixed cousins, mixed relatives, mixed nephews that are pale as the driven snow, because sometimes
yes,
one parent's appearances and genes win out. Okay, I don't want
genes
to say
are stronger.
I,
Yes,
I don't want to say that like in any kind of like, like any kind of, I want to say tactfully, like sometimes flip of the coin. Okay, and so like, but I keep hearing, oh, thankfully they're hopefully they do Damien the correct way, and like that's so fucking disrespectful. It's like actual people who are mixed who maybe don't
yes,
get the melanin.
Okay, let's
very,
keep it a
very,
fat
very
stack.
much so. Yes.
Let's keep it a fat stack. Let's keep it a fat stack. You know what I've been seeing floating around the timeline in regards to this specifically? It's
What's
from
that?
that fucking webcomic where Damien is darker skinned, and that's what they're using as the basis for
Yeah,
this
and
entire
and
thing
that, and
for
that's
Damien.
fine, and
Yeah.
that's fine. I get it. He's colored darker as somebody who has Arab blood like that. That's fine. If they go that direction, that's absolutely fine. It's not
Yeah.
a problem. But if he's a fair skinned individual, that's also not a problem. His father is white.
Yeah.
As a
But
black
but
man
you
born in the
know,
South,
but
let me
but you know,
go ahead.
if let's just say if they go the fair skin route, you know what's coming. You already know what's coming.
What's that? The bitching online.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. It happens. That's one thing. If DC is used to nothing else, they should be used to people complaining online by this point. Um, but yeah, guys, I'm a black guy. I'm born in the South. Let me uh, key y'all in on a little secret here. Nobody down here that's black is fully black, bro. You go back one or two generations, you got Massa was creeping down to the slave house, bro. We all mixed.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us, like my grandmother, just that's two generations removed. You would think she was a white woman if you did not know her parents, bro. Like if you did not see the kids that came out of her, you would think she was a white
Mm-hmm.
woman.
Yeah,
Like
no, I
I'm
have a cousin,
sorry,
right? I
that's
have a cousin, right? Two Mexican parents, two
yeah. Go
Mexican
ahead.
parents, right? Now, Mexicans, like okay, same thing. We're all slightly more beige, sometimes things only activate when you get like a tan and go down the beach,
Right.
for us Latinos. All right, so I have two cousins, both Mexican. I have a cousin, she married a Mexican guy. They're both Mexican. We're both more heavily Mexican. I'm like, we're in family trees. Anyway, they have a kid, fucking bluest eyes. All right, bluest eye. They
Yes.
both they both have like brownest eyes, right? And I'm like, that just says, that down the line there was
Mm-hmm.
there was something that went on with
Exactly.
them
There,
three
there, there was some
stories.
shenanigans going on somewhere.
Yeah. a missionary got too
But
frisky.
yeah, so
Oh, we have a question pertaining to
Yeah.
this. So JK asks, but is he Arab or Asian / South Asian?
He's whatever Ra's al Ghul is.
okay, Roz is Chinese Arab. Talia's mother, that sometimes changes around. I think the last origin I read was she was a woman he met at Woodstock. So if you're going by that, odds are there's a well, I'm not gonna say odds are, but there's a chance that was also a white woman. So if that's the case, then you're talking about what, maybe 60 or so percent of Damien's blood is white. Like, I don't know, guys. Like, how are like I don't know about how serious this is. Roz came to Arabia, not born there. Yes, I think like I said, Roz's parentage. I need to go look at more so Mother's Soul if they ever bring that up with her, because like I said, he's supposed to be Chinese and Arab is in there somewhere. Talia's mother, her origins has changed around, so I'm not 100% sure. But then also, yes, there are Middle Eastern and Arab individuals who look fairly white themselves. So,
Yep.
like I said, somewhere along the line, some shenanigans went on with the genetics. So,
Yeah, and this brings
let's not make that a bigger topic than it has to be.
yeah,
With
and
Damien anyway.
to kind of put a bookend on that topic specifically, like the issue that I have around topics like these is that it's always so black and white, and with these topics there's so much nuance.
Mm-hmm.
Like you literally just mentioned, hey, there was some things happening with the slave masters as well. Like there's nuance here. It doesn't have to be black and white. So whatever color he is, whenever he's cast, it's like you have to leave that room open for nuance. But the problem, I just feel bad for whoever it is that gets casted, especially if they're darker skinned or even lighter skinned, is because people will forget that nuance or just throw it out the window, and there probably is going to get a bunch of shit thrown at them, whether it's in their Instagram DMs, Twitter, or whatever. But yeah, that's just to book a bookend on that. Again, like I said before, nuance fucking exists. Nuance exists. All I care about in this point of view, well, in regards to this, is like, hey, is he gonna be chopping niggas' heads off or no? That's what I want to see. His body's dropping when Damien comes in the door. That's what I want to see. Boom. That's what I want. That's all I care about. Fuck all the rest of that noise. But Booster Gold. Let's talk about Booster Gold. How do you feel about Booster Gold?
Is that a TV show? I can't remember.
Let me go ahead and look real quick.
It's HBO Max, so whatever that means, probably.
Okay.
It's fine.
As
like
TV.
Booster. I don't know, I don't know, like what the plot would be. I think it suits a TV show more than a movie, because Booster Gold, like his whole thing, like, is that he doesn't have like these big adventures. Like it's always like kind of like silly one-off or like get rich quick schemes or like some sort of like sitcom premise, like, oh no, my brand deal is falling through, that kind of thing. Hopefully he's better than Turk from Scrubs, who was embarrassing. I can't believe you guys. Oh, let's renew that show, please. But no. I'm excited. Again, these are things where I'm like, why did we need to reboot? This could have been a thing. This could have just been a regular thing that came out. It's a lot of fanfare for nothing.
Okay. And then what's the other? Oh yeah, Booster Gold, same. I don't have too many strong thoughts about that. I'm happy to see him on the big screen. I enjoy what I've read from him comics wise. Yeah, I think it'll make a good HBO Max show. Especially if James Gunn. I feel like that's more of James Gunn's is like alley. Characters like that, or maybe not. Whoever else is putting their spin on it, cool. I'm just happy to see it, and I hope it's just done well. And yeah, I can't wait to see how he mingles with the rest of the DCU or the new DCU. Yeah, so I don't really have too many thoughts about that one. But what I would love to hear thoughts about the most is Paradise Lost, because I know
Okay,
Elvis had a lot of
okay.
strong thoughts about that one.
I know. I totally forgot this was a thing, and I think that James Gunn is make the biggest like mistake of his life with Wonder Woman, um, because what he mentions like in the video, what are the origins of Paradise Island? And thing is like there are no
It
dark
sounds like the worst part of the
of the new 50.
Azzarello run.
Yes, it
Uh,
does, and we're gonna describe
yeah.
to you if anyone who hasn't read the Azrael run, but there are
Yeah.
no dark secrets to Paradise Island. It's just
Hmm.
it's an island. But it's meant to be a paradise island. Like that's the thing. That's why I hate
Yeah.
Tom King as well because he'll be like, but what if this thing that's meant to be hunky dory wasn't? What if Adam Strange wasn't a pulp here? What if he was a war criminal? What if Miss Miracle wasn't the new God of Freedom? What if he committed suicide and decided to abandon his wife and child for the afterlife? You know, it's stuff like that. And again, this is what I'm getting from how Gunn described Paradise Lost, because in the New 52 run, right, we learned that Paradise Island isn't like an island of immortal, women, Amazons that get to live their lives happy and free. It's a rape
Mhm.
island of murder,
Oh,
uh,
Yeah.
where like Amazons go out, they rape men, they kill their male babies. But don't worry, some of them get saved by Hephaestus. But then later on, in the New 52, the Amazons find out that a bunch of the men babies have been saved, and they genocide them even more. And it's like that's the impression I get because that's the kind of thing I'm seeing as a pattern in what Gunn seems to point out in his slate in his video. Um, and it fits with that whole Tom King ability of like, but what if there's actually more to the story, and it's just the more basic bullshit. And again, I don't. I think the whole idea of like a Game of Thrones. He described it as Game of Thrones, but with Wonder Woman,
Which does not fit the mascara
it
at
doesn't. Like it's
all.
a paradise. Like
mm,
it's meant to be a
Um.
paradise. Like I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't understand what the point is. Like you could make a Wonder Woman Paradise Island um prequel show, and you can make it fun. You just need talent. You don't need to be a hack. And I think
yeah,
Mhm.
Gunn is giving me hack vibes, very
Mhm.
hacky vibes. This
Like
thing.
what is it? Like I'm a fan of as a whole of Azzarello's run, but that is the one thing I was when I was reading. I'm like, what are you doing, bro? Like change Diana's origin. Okay, cool. Whatever. Rape Island? Really? Where
hey
and
YouTube, don't cut.
they
Hey, don't. Hey YouTube, calm down, brother. Calm down. Whoever's fucking hey, calm down. Keep going. I just got to put that out there. Calm the fuck
but
down, YouTube.
yeah
Take
but
it up with
yeah
James
they
Gunn,
so they
YouTube.
so they go out and they the sailors who get lost at sea, they have sex with them, and you think it's, oh yeah, sailors on sea, beautiful women, that's a trope that's been done before. Yeah, they turn around and kill the guys. So yeah, like we said, rape island.
And like it never,
Then
never, Azrael never brings up how the fuck Steve Trevor got out of that island fucking alive. Like
yeah, yeah,
he
that's the other
never
thing.
explains that.
But and then so yes, when they have the babies, right? And so then when the babies are women, hey, cool, yeah, you get to be Amazon. When the babies are men, oh yeah,
Yep.
let's get rid of them. Um, the one exception being Jason, Diana's brother,
Did he
which
die?
didn't. To be fair, uh, last I remember, he
Didn't
see the
Hercules
Wonder
kill them
Woman
all?
runs after that have been kind of iffy.
I think
What's
Hercules.
that?
I think didn't Hercules kill all her brothers? She had like a bunch of half brothers who were still alive. But then like Hercules kill them all.
I I probably didn't get that deep. Last I remember, it was he was like Grail was trying to corrupt him, and I think he turned and saved Diana. So I got to go back and read. I might be off on that,
Yeah.
but
My memory is
yeah,
iffy on
it just
that also.
yeah, it wasn't it wasn't the best look that Themyscira has had over the years. So yeah, James, if you're listening, let's not do that.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, the thing that
because
pops out of that video, he mentions like how does an island of all women come about, and like that's what's
right,
giving me like flashing red light signs. And my hope would be that the dark secrets are like the Perez run, where it turns out that it's purgatory. The island isn't an island per se; it's
mm,
purgatory. It's
yeah,
it's the reward for women who have had hard lives and as mortals, and they get to live their
Mhm.
lives in peace. And that's my hope. That's what he means by dark seeker. That's as dark as it should get. All right, no darker.
And the other thing with this is and it brings back to the conversation about talking about why are we rebooting? Which, don't get me wrong, I for the most part agree with the rebooting. But guys, Patty Jenkins was doing a Amazon's series. Like that was the whole plan. Gonna bring back Connie Nielsen and Robin Wright. They were gonna explore all of that. Like I think it was gonna do it before Diana was born, after Diana leaves the island. Like, yeah, that was. I understand you didn't like her plans for the movie, but this is sounding somewhat similar, at least to what she had planned for this series. So I don't know. Maybe this wasn't the smartest choice, or maybe you're just. Who knows? Maybe they're picking up the scraps of what
Yeah.
she had initially planned for that. That could be it. But yeah, the biggest plot point. I mean, the biggest thing I can say about Paradise Falls. Don't do murder and rape island, guys. Let's not. Um, like I said, that would be
Yeah,
that'd be an
that's
interesting
not gonna. Yeah,
few days online.
yeah. Yeesh. No, like, I get staying, true to source material, but this is the one time you can deviate, and we will be totally
Mhm.
okay with that. We'll be totally fine with that. Um. All right. I think the next one that we can talk about. Actually, no, we do have a couple more things to talk about. Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing.
You know what? Hopefully, get Mangled on it. All right. Make it a actual prosthetic suit like they did for the TV show, and you're good. All right.
Mhm.
Like I don't want to see a CGI Swamp Thing. All right. The show fucking knocked it out of the park. That suit. Get Derek Mears back. You can redub him. He's okay with that. He's done it before. Derek Mears, perfect physique. That's perfect design. Just go with it and run with it. You don't need to fix it. You don't need to reinvent the wheel here. All right.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
it
I
sounds like
agree with. I agree with. Wait,
no,
what's that?
go ahead, AJ. Go ahead, AJ. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I pretty much agree with everything Elvis said. Maybe throw 20, 30 more million at the project, but this, I mean, do it like a horror film, creature feature type of thing. Practical effects, build your sets, and just go in. This, like he said, this doesn't need to reinvent the wheel. You can do, and especially if you're trying to save money, you can do a Swamp Thing film for today in today's movies terms, very inexpensive,
Mm-hmm.
$60 million or so, and hey, you will make all kind of profit off of it just because it's so cheap to produce. Like,
Yeah.
this one does not have to be rocket science. This should be the one you knock out of the park in your sleep.
Yeah, and it sounds like the TV show did that more or less. It's just they didn't do what they did. Sounded like it was enough, and people were very invested. But again, we all know why that ended. So yeah, I'm on board. Like I don't have much to say about that. Just throw some money at it. Don't do too much. And I like that it's removed from the DCU, but it's also not like it sounds like it's very lightly connected to it. Like he said, it's still going to be doing its own thing, but there'll be threads from like the overall DCU that'll like tie into it. And I like that because it just seems like Swamp Thing should just I don't know, kind of just always just kick it on its own, like it's its own world. So I'm cool with that. I have no problem with that. Um, the last thing we didn't really talk about was the Elseworlds. So we know Batman 2, Matt Reeves' Batman 2 is still happening. I believe Teen Titans Go is still going to be doing its own thing. But I think there's another project that I'm missing here as well. Oh
Joker,
no,
Joker
Joker.
2.
No, I'm gonna backtrack even more. We didn't speak about Lanterns.
Oh,
I'm worried about
I
that
think
one.
it's
Yeah, because the way he describes like terrestrial space detective story, like that, those are contradictory terms.
it's I think it's going to be terrestrial in the sense you might be. Nah, you're not even going to be on another planet, but I don't think you're going to be out in space like the vacuum of space and stuff. Um, first off, guys, the reason why that's coming about, nothing to do with the Jeff Johns stuff. They are still scared out of their minds after that Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie, which the space parts and the over parts were not the problem with that movie. So I would lean into that aspect more, but I understand, they want to see what audience response will be. Which, yeah, I get it. It's not the direction I would go with a Green Lantern series, especially if you're already going to have John be a part of it as well as Hal. Man, get wacky. Give me insane constructs. Have me, yes. Give me Ola. Give me Sinestro Corps. Give me all of it, guys. But I guess they want to crawl before they walk there. We'll see. Hopefully it works out. With it being an HBO show, because I think that one's supposed to be just straight up HBO, not HBO Max. So that gives me hope that they're going to throw a little more money at it than what they would do for some of those Max series. You want to give me 10 episodes and spend $220 million and give me a good Green Lantern series, I'm with it.
Yep.
But yeah, I would like it to be out in space, but I understand why they're not.
Yeah, I also believe with the statement "crawl before you walk." So if this is how they have to start off, and before we get into like the big grand escape of the Green Lantern universe, I'm fine with that. Just whatever you decide to do off rip, I just hope it's good, it's well produced. And again, like the reason why I'm a little shaky about this is because like we already know about HBO, Warner Bros. Is like money problems. And I feel like one of the reasons why we haven't been able to get this project off the ground, and mind you, we've been hearing about this shit even way back in the CW days. I think a large reason why it's just been in development hell is because of how much money it's going to cost. Because again, you cannot cut corners with Green Lantern at all. There's some other projects you can cut corners
also
with.
because Jeff Johns can't multitask, but yes, mostly because of cost.
Yes. Again, so you can't cut costs with that. Like that Green Lantern, the moment you even say that, people just have this grandiose idea of what they feel those stories should tackle, and it ain't cheap. It ain't cheap at all. So you're gonna have to spend a pretty little penny, and I hope this time around they actually are prepared to do that. Because again, if you try to cut corners, we're gonna know. We gonna know. So that's all I hope for that. And then as the series hopefully becomes more popular and they're able to put even more money into it, yes, let's branch it out. Let's bring in all the other characters and really let's make this as beautiful as possible. So that's my hope for Lanterns. But hold on. Let me answer this question. Because you gotta expect this when Tevia come in the stream. You gotta expect this. Let's fucking as his answer. Do you believe we'll get a Jonathan Samuel Kent Superboy in this universe somewhere in the future? I don't see why not, especially if we're already going into this new universe with an established Superman. I can see it happening. And I think DC is already in a space where they're trying to mend. They're trying to get in the good graces of the Super Sons fans again. That animated movie seems like it's doing well. In the comic books, we're revisiting young John Kent, especially in Dawn of the DCU. So I can see it. I'm not gonna say no.
Wouldn't Damian be like 15 years older than John Kent at this point?
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's gonna be a more mentor-mentee relationship with Damian and John as opposed to maybe Super Sons. But depending on how young they give us Damian, like if they straight up go 8-year-old Damian, I will be shocked for one, but that could make that gap kind of closer. Maybe say like at the end of that Superman legacy, maybe Lois is pregnant by then. So, but still, yeah, that there will be a significant age gap between Damian and John, put it that way.
Yeah, I feel like if you're looking for John, sure. If you're looking for Super Sons, I don't know, maybe you may not get it or you may get it, but yeah, the age difference It'll stick out like a sore thumb. So I'm not saying no. I'm not saying no. It doesn't sound like the rest of us is saying no either. So yeah, I can see this happening for sure. But to kind of wrap up, let's talk about the Elseworld stuff. So we know Batman 2 is still happening. We know Teen Titans Go is still happening. We know Joker's 2 is still happening. And here's the one that's surprising me the most. They are still going forward with the Ta-Nehisi Coates Superman, Black Superman specifically. So let's talk about that.
They are going forward with that because they paid J.J. Abrams $500 million and they don't have a single project out of him yet. That's why they're going forward with that, because if JJ don't give them something, they might send out somebody to get that money back in blood, bro. So that's the
Is that why
that's the
Constantine 2
one
is still
hope
happening?
left. You said yes, that's right. Constantine is happening. The Keanu science continues.
Yeah, I feel like they're hedging their bets a little bit, but you're right. A lot of the stuff that came from the Abrams crew, Kiva Gold and all that kind of stuff. The stuff they're cooking are like, well, we're too sunk cost here.
Yeah, because what was it? The one series that he would do, Demi something. I can't remember. Warner's passed on it because I think that was gonna be like a $30 million an episode series. So I think that's ended up at Amazon, if that even still gets made. But JJ is another one. It seems like it's hard for him to multitask, bro. So we'll see what happens with the Black Superman stuff. I think they're on their third draft of that script now. So hey, who knows? If it happens, I'll check it out.
Can I have a tinfoil hat? Tinfoil hat.
Go ahead.
Tinfoil hat time. Tinfoil hat time. What we didn't hear about? Well, at least not yet. We didn't hear about the Michael B. Jordan Superman project. So that was announced. What if that is going to become blended together? Like Michael B. Jordan is still attached, but he'd be working alongside, Ta-Nehisi Coates and, J.J. Abrams. Because remember, that was still announced as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Warner's, they have a history of because this is a script they've already paid for. So at this point, they own that script regardless. So maybe they just want him to play that Superman. I could definitely see that. I wouldn't be mad at it because first off, a Black Superman, people are already going to have the people that don't know that these aren't Clark Kent, they're going to have their nose up at that. So you put a talent like Michael B. Jordan on there, somebody, he's not even a rising talent at this point. He's a decent enough star. That could get some butts in seats. Then if you plastered everywhere, written by Ta-Nehisi Coates, that'll get more butts in seats. But I just I'll believe it when I see it, because like I said, JJ seem like JJ just ran off with the bag. I'll put it that way. Hopefully they get something done, or could be some legal fisticuffs happening with that deal to recoup some of that money if he doesn't bring anything home, put it that way. Batman. No, okay, go ahead.
I was gonna say this. I'm still against Black Clark Kent, but if this is like Val Zod or Calvin Ellis, I'm okay with that. Yeah, that's the only reason why. That's the only way you're gonna get me to sit down and watch this movie.
To be fair, Calvin Ellis is Clark Kent. Ma and Pa just aren't Ma and Pa.
Right.
Like, come on, Calvin Ellis's name is Kal-El, and his parents are Jor-El. They don't have apostrophes. I mean, dashes in that universe. That's the only difference between Clark Kent and Calvin Ellis.
Yeah. So I mean, if it cool, but yeah, so yeah, that's if we're gonna go down that route, sure, whatever. But I don't know. I would also hope too that, especially since it was announced like officially, that they really get the ball moving on that, and J.J. Abrams really just gets his shit together. Because God, we're supposed to do Justice League Dark with J.J. Abrams, before like
Justice League Dark, a Zatanna, a Constantine
yeah.
film.
So
Because the Constantine film with Keanu, that is not connected to JJ. Well, I'll take that. No, it's not connected. Those were going to be two different things. So who knows what's going to happen with that? Was he attached to Swamp? No, that was Jesus. Who's the other DCU director that was attached to Swamp Thing?
I can't remember.
Is escaping me. He was a producer on it. Okay, forget James Wan. Thank you, James Wan.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, JJ, he has been attached to a lot of things that have not happened. That kind of can answer Tevia's question. Why is the Ta-Nehisi Superman movie still happening? Because JJ produced it, is producing it. Warner Brothers has paid JJ $500 million. He better show them something, or else that's going to get ugly. So that's why that movie is still happening. Let's see what else. The Batman. I'm so glad to be wrong on that. It looks like they're going to keep that separate.
Oh, thank God.
I think that's good. Let Matt Reeves Reeves cook and do his own thing. I still, am never going to count out the bean counters and the stock people at the studio, to where if that thing keeps making money, they try to integrate it somehow. But oh my God, I hope not.
No.
Just
I'm
keep
gonna
it
be the odd man out.
separate.
I'm gonna be the odd man out, and I'm gonna say I wish they would. I wish they would, because, again, I think that if you're gonna go from an older Batman and establish one
Okay.
already who has all this history, just do it. Just do it.
Right.
Just integrate it. Like, what's the point?
The only part of that I can see that working, you have an established Batman, but he's still young enough to be Clark's peer. Because Reeves' Batman's been in what, 2 years, and I know Penguin is supposed to pick up right after the end of the movie. I don't know if Batman 2. I would assume those will be somewhere close. So at most, he's been doing it 3 years by that point. That a 3-year gap, that's fine with Batman and Superman. A Batman has been active, let's see, Dick was with him what, 9 years. Jason's about 2 to 3. So you're talking about at least a 15-year, a Batman with 15 years under his belt at least. Yeah, guys, we just did that. Like you said, that comes back to the point of, at that point, why are we rebooting? But so, hopefully it's not that much of a gap. Who knows? They might try to do a New 52 did and condense that Robin timeline some, but you can potentially run into mistakes there. We've already seen that. But what else? Constantine, glad for Keanu.
I'm gonna throw again. The caveat here is the reason why I'm also gonna side with Elvis here is because, once again, that man done said anything could change. So that ties right into if they feel like it's worth it to go ahead and mingle both of those universes together, sure. Again, I'm not against it as long as it makes sense. That's my only thing. But I can definitely see a scenario there where it happens.
Yeah, and it could work. I don't know. I think, even though I'm a bit tired of the grounded in reality Batman, but Matt Reeves does seem like he wants to lean into detective stuff, and anytime I'm getting more detective Batman, give me that. I don't care if it's grounded at that point. I'll take Detective Batman all day. What else do we have? Like I say, Constantine 2, I'm happy for Keanu. Joker. All right, fine. The only reason you're getting a sequel to that is the first one made $1 billion, and the script wasn't that strong. Phoenix gave you a great performance, but you could have ended that at one movie, and I would have been perfectly okay with that. But like I said, this is what happens when a film comes out and makes $1 billion. So you're getting a sequel whether you wanted it or not. I think that's all the Elseworld projects. So yeah,
I
who
think
knows? We'll see.
we'll see. Also, we got a couple questions here. Tevia brought up a good point. Is the Tomorrowverse universe still happening? Because what is it? This is that
Well, they
Flashpoint
just put that.
reboot.
No, we're talking about the Tomorrowverse. I think is the animated films.
Yeah,
Oh,
remember
well,
there
now
was Dark Side War?
It was
Not Dark.
no,
Yeah.
that's before Tomorrowverse. Tomorrowverse kicked off with Superman. What was that? Man of Tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had the JSA movie, which was really a Flash movie. You've had Long Halloween in there. What else? Super Sons. Even though I'm not 100, I haven't watched Super Sons yet, so I'm not 100% sure if that's in that same universe. And they just did. I know they did the Legion movie, which I know is part of it. So that's going to be a good question as to whether or not.
Yeah.
I can see a scenario where they tell Gunn to keep his hands off of. You can have everything else animated. Keep your hands off the animated movies because
Yeah.
that's one thing. Quality aside on some of the films, that's one thing that has been popular for DC for years. So
Mm-hmm.
I can see a scenario where they tell him, "Hey, yeah, you can do everything else animated. Leave this corner of the universe to the people we already have over here."
Yeah.
Because that works for them.
Yeah.
So
And I think that answers JK's question as well. So I think there's a pocket there that James Gunn doesn't even have to mention. But if moving forward, I think it'll be explicit that hey, this animated TV show or movie, this is tying into our universe. But as for everything else that came before, whatever. Yeah. Let's see here. I think that is about I think that's about it, honestly. To wrap up, because we are nearing 2 hours. Holy fuck, this was a good fucking stream. Holy shit, guys. Holy fucking shit. But yeah, to wrap up, I don't know. It seemed like I said before, final thoughts. I'll believe it when I see it. Something sound cool, something sound like whatever. But yeah, until I see a movie or two movies in front of my face, then you'll get a definitive answer from me. But I will say, after this conversation, I am a little bit more excited. That's why I always enjoy talking with you fellas, because you guys get the gears going in my head. So I am a little bit more intrigued. But yeah, final thoughts from from you, Elvis or AJ.
yeah, I'm about the same. Came in with it. I'm cautiously optimistic. There are some projects that I'm definitely bigger fans of than others. We'll see. The verdict is still out. I think just a hard reboot would have been cleaner, but I can see a few scenarios where they make this work. Also, one last thing. Once again, do not do Rape and Murder Island.
Mm.
Whatever you do not do Rape and Murder Island. That's all I got. Those are my thoughts.
Elvis.
Well, I'm cautiously pessimistic. Like I'm mostly like this is not gonna work out well. It's gonna be a disaster. But there's a couple of projects that I'm interested in. I want to see succeed. I want to be good. Now one thing I want to note before we wrap up is that I have to think that maybe Creature Commandos is happening because Jeff Johns is trying to shop his DC ripoff universe from Image to to other companies. Like he's apparently gotten he's gotten Geiger option for a TV show, and I think that they're doing Creature Commandos as a TV show because maybe they're thinking like, hey, maybe he'll try to get fucking Junkyard Joe TV show off the ground, and Junkyard Joe is just such a blatant ripoff of GI Robot. They need to get ahead of the game there. That's all I'm saying.
You know what? I can see it too. I ain't gonna lie to you. I can see it too. I can see it too.
From DC's film plans. I can see it. I think what he's got, yeah, because Stargirl is ending, so he's pretty much doesn't have anything with him on
Mhm.
film or that he's producing. I could see that. I could definitely see it.
Yeah, so we'll see, man. But yeah, so somebody did mention it also on the timeline. I believe it was a Taylor. He said, "Yeah, do we are we expecting DC to show out some more things in San Diego Comic Con, or are we are we good for announcements?"
I think you might get one or two announcements. You're going to get mainly directors,
Mm-hmm.
um, and a couple people from the trades. Even though trades have been wrong a bit lately, are saying that they have some directors signed already for projects that they haven't announced yet. But those would give away spoilers as far as what Gunn's plans are, and he's not ready for
Mm-hmm.
folks to know that yet. So we'll see. I give some credence to that because you see Mangold pretty much came out that night and dropped it. That he basically confirmed, like, yeah, I'm talking to them about Swamp Thing. So it's probably some truth to that. You'll get some casting announcements at San Diego. That's probably where they show off their new Superman.
Mm.
Good luck to that individual. Um, yeah, bro. Some of them Snyder folk,
Oh
it's not
boy.
gonna be pretty.
Oh boy.
Um, as far as any other movie, you might get one, like I said, maybe one or two other things. But guys, this is 10 projects already. That's enough of a slate for a few years.
Yeah.
I don't think you need too much more announced. Now, the shows are gonna move quicker than the films, so they'll eat into that 10 kind of quickly. But you got enough for about, at least until the first films start coming out. You got enough for about 2-3 years.
Yeah. So I think we'll be fine. Yeah, I can see San Diego just like more people who are attached. But yeah, this
Hmm.
is a lot. And again, we don't have DC fandom anymore. So I think maybe we get some more crumbs at San Diego, and then it'll just be a waiting game. And then obviously, as time gets closer to these releases, we'll see even more information drop. But yeah, but so far, I think this was a lot thrown at us at once. There's more than enough to speculate with. Yeah. So yeah, it's a waiting game. So we'll
No,
see.
I'll say is that I
What's
think we're
up?
gonna get a bunch of news after. When's the last movie that comes out? Of the movies they already have, the movies they have left over from DCU. When that movie comes out,
Aquaman, Aquaman in December.
okay, I think at December we're gonna get like after maybe next year, maybe next January. We're gonna get a bunch of
Mm.
news from the
Mm,
rest of Phase One. Okay, they said this isn't all Phase One. This is a part of Phase One. He's like, there's
yeah.
more Phase One we haven't announced yet. They're waiting. They're waiting for all this shit to come through, just just so that they don't mess things up for these current movies, because they need that money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
So we will wait and see. But fellas, once again, I just want to thank you for an amazing stream. This was fucking awesome. And I will leave it up to you guys. AJ, where can they find you at?
As always, on Twitter at Mr. underscore Mitchell underscore the number two underscore the letter U. Um, yeah, giving hot takes, talking about slates, doing all of that. You can find me there.
This.
You can find me at Twitter at the THE_SNICKMAN, the Snigman, and also my YouTube channel on Sourcewell Radio, where I do a bunch of reviews, unboxings, couple of deep dives. So yeah, hope you check it out.
Hey, I see your subscriber count climbing, my brother. Yeah, you out here grinding. I
Almost there,
see you.
almost there.
Okay, all right, brother. Um, as for myself, you can find me at Roliver Queen underscore. Like I said, y'all know the vibe. Comic books, booze, and pretty feet. You can find me on Roliver Queen reviews. The 500 sub stream will be happening. I'm aiming for this Friday. If things don't line up, then Saturday for sure. I it's an open door. I sent the I'm gonna send the link out to all the homies. So you guys will probably see Elvis and AJ swing by, and some other friends of the channel.
Can I also announce this?
What's up? Go ahead.
On my channel, I think on
Oh,
Saturday or Sunday,
uh-huh.
we're gonna you and me and a friend of ours,
Yes.
Mikhail and AJ. Are you in? Saturday or Sunday?
Hold up. Sunday is a definite no-go. Super Bowl party.
All right, it might be Sunday then, because we're gonna do before or after the trailer drops, depends on how time works out. We're gonna be doing
Okay.
just a quick fire run through of all the Fast and Furious movies. Our thoughts on it. We're not gonna try to make it go long, but me and my friend Mikhail, we did the X-Men films last year, and that was like 4 hours, man.
Jeez.
When did that trailer drop?
Probably during around the same time. It's at some
Probably
point.
Super Bowl.
There's
Bro.
yeah, like
is it? Well, I don't know if they've announced it for the Super Bowl, but I mean,
it's
if you want
coming
to get the
Super
most
Bowl.
eyes on it, I would think that was when you would do it.
It's the 10th, right? I think it was the 10th.
Super Bowl is the 12th. Yeah, the 12th.
Let me see.
Or they might be doing like a trailer for the trailer type thing.
No. It says that it will be the 10th, because they're doing that thing where on the 9th they're having like another fan event like they did for Fast 9. And so the 10th is they're gonna release it. So maybe they're not waiting. Maybe they're trying to preempt the Super Bowl.
So we're aiming. If we do it Sunday, that'll be great for your channel, because the moment that trailer drops, your SEO is gonna go crazy, bro.
But then if it drops Friday, I do want to get AJ in if he wants in. So we're tentatively call it Saturday. Again, I don't want to. When's yours stream again?
Probably gonna be Friday.
Okay, then that works out. I don't want to overlap.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
So we'll definitely keep you in the loop about that. But yeah, I know it's getting late. Thank you for everybody who tuned in. Thank you for everybody who was in the comments. Chat was going crazy. And again, if you're catching this on the replay, we'll love to hear your thoughts down below. What are you excited about? What are you not excited about? And what are your thoughts overall about the James Gunn DCU slate? So this is the Comics Code Authority. We will be back. Sounds like we may take a break next week. But if not, well, if we do, you'll at least hear from me and Elvis. And then we will recoup again the following week. But I will keep you in the loop, guys. Once again, Elvis and AJ, thank you very much. Thank you to everybody who tuned in, and thank you to everybody who was in the comments. Much love, much peace. It's the Comics Code Authority, and we are